Welcome to the Human Performance Series. I'm joined today by Chris, and he's here to tell us what human performance means to him. Chris, lovely to meet you, mate.
Nice to meet you.
Could you tell me a little bit about yourself?
My name's Chris. I'm 37. I'm originally from Birmingham, now live in London. I've got a couple of cats, I'm married, and I'm a tattoo artist.
Have there been any big moments in your life where you've had a challenge, and how have you overcome it?
So one of the most challenging things recently for me was I ran the Chester Marathon last year, and I did a few months of training for it, but I don't quite think it was enough. I got about 3/4 of the way through the race, and then my legs just set on fire, and people around me were like dropping like flies. It was very difficult. I wasn't quite prepared for that. But the way I overcome it, I guess, I was raising money for charity. Because last year my father actually got diagnosed with dementia. So I was raising money for Alzheimer's charity. I managed to raise like £1,500. So yeah, that was what was kind of helping push me through the last few miles of that race, basically. And yeah, managed to do it in like a fairly decent time. So yeah, very happy with that. And yeah, that was what helped me through it, I think.
And was your father's diagnosis, was that what got you into like running? And you had the challenge already in mind, or?
No, I kind of got into running during lockdown, I think it was, for something to do, to be honest, just to get out of the house. I live down by the river, so I started running further and further, and then figured I'd never really set myself many big challenges physically. I've never really done sports or anything like that, so I really enjoyed running. It was kind of nice to just kind of switch off for an hour or so and just be out in nature and run around. So yeah, that was the reason I got into it. And then, as I just said, I just rather set myself a challenge and decided to do a marathon. That was how I got into it, I guess.
How many years have you been doing tattoo?
I've been a tattoo artist for around 15 years almost, I think. Yeah, 15 years.
And what was the moment that you kind of realised that this is something you wanted to do professionally?
I was probably around 21, 22, and I was getting tattooed myself. And I decided to buy a tattoo machine from eBay and just mess around with my friends. And then I realised it was something that I enjoyed doing. At the time, it wasn't really a career, I thought. It was just something that I enjoyed doing. So I just decided to pursue that path. And then I ended up getting an apprenticeship and moving into tattooing professionally, I guess. And since then, I've been travelling around the world doing it here, there and everywhere. So it's definitely something that I'm glad that I got into. I didn't think I'd be able to have a job that allows me to travel around and see as much of the world and experience as many things that I actually have.
That's incredible, man. Yeah, being able to travel doing what you love is...
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. Best job in the world.
And when you've got a job that's obviously, it's quite high stakes, people have it, permanently, how do you deal with some days where you just don't want to be at work, if you have those days?
I'll often try and take a step back a little bit, I guess. I'll try not to put too much pressure on myself. And if I'm not feeling productive, I'll try and do something that's different to what I need to do. Step back from it for a few hours maybe, rather than punishing myself, I guess, for not being able to do it there and then. I'll just try and, give myself time away from what I need to do and then come back to it again.
And do you have any daily habits or anything that you do to kind of set yourself up for the day?
I'll try and wake up early every morning, like before my wife wakes up. So I've got a little bit of time to myself in the morning. I try and do stretching every day, like 5 to 10 minutes. I drink what they call electrolytes every morning. And I'll try and just have like a half hour of quiet in the morning, just to kind of sit there with my thoughts, gather what I've got to do that day, hash it all out. Sit there, do a bit of my design work. I'm kind of most productive in the mornings.
And how does Huel fit into the day of a tattoo artist and marathon runner?
It fits into it all day long, to be honest. I make the powdered Huel. I'll prepare that in the morning, so I'll make a couple of those, mix it with water and fruit, bananas usually, and then I'll have one before work and then one during work. It just allows me I don't like to take many breaks whilst I'm at work, so having a Huel, I can just kind of swig it whilst I go, rather than having like a half-hour break or something. Just allows me to crack on with the day. And 2 of those, they kind of see me through until like 6 p.m, 7 p.m, when I'll sit down and have a proper meal.
I can imagine when you've got a big piece to do that could be, 6 to 10 hours or something. You can't really stop.
No, I try not to as well. I'd rather just continue. It's better for the client as well that way, I think. If you keep stopping and having long breaks, their adrenaline drops a little bit and then it starts to hurt a little bit more for them. So I like to try and just kind of press on and not take any breaks if I can. Same for the client as well.
Being an artist, like when you're in the moment and you've got a client, you've got X amount of hours, like you can't spend time going, right, let me get my meal prep chicken and rice.
Yeah, exactly.
And what drove you to originally try Huel?
Originally, I was meal prepping every day for work and I got a bit sick of it. I was not struggling to find the time. I just wanted to try something new, I guess. I then switched up my lunch meal for a Huel. And as time went on, I then switched up breakfast for a Huel as well. I try to not eat too early in the mornings. So I'll switch up breakfast and then I'll have a Huel to begin with about 10 a.m. and then another one about 2. And that sees me through to the end of the day, usually until about 6 or 7, where I'll eat a regular meal after that.
And with doing so much in your life, like what inspires you to continue doing the things you're doing? And
inspiration, I guess, it's a lot of other people in my industry. I see a lot of those guys smashing it, guys and girls obviously smashing it. And it's really good to see all the stuff that they're doing. And it just makes me want to push harder and get better at what I'm doing. I've started recently trying to teach people as well. And that allows me to look inwards a little bit and go over all the things that I think I know and make sure that's what you should actually be doing. It makes you question everything you're doing and try and push yourself to get better, I guess. So yeah, the people that I look up to, I guess, in the industry I work in.
And in your line of work, is there a particular myth that you would like to debunk, like a misconception people have?
I don't know. I guess a lot of people kind of think that it's an easy job to have. They see you for 6 or 7 hours and you just sitting there drawing on them. I mean, it's fun. It's really, really good. But it's all the stuff in the background that you do. You spend hours on the design work. You spend hours on your admin and your emails and your messaging. You have to spend hours being a content creator now. You have to do a lot of different things and there's a lot of travel involved. I travel around the country quite a lot. I'll do conventions abroad. So it's a lot, it's non-stop, man. There's a lot of times when, I'll look back and I'll be like, wow, I've not had a day off for like 3 or 4 weeks now. I need to chill out for a little bit. So it can be quite intense, but it's as intense as you make it, I guess. So yeah, I try and constantly push, but every now and again I do set aside a few days to relax and decompress and so I can go again, basically.
And within those, 3-4 weeks of solidly working, how do you find time to kind of decompress?
I like to read quite a bit. I find that just switching off, reading mostly fiction, I guess, it's a way of forgetting about everything I've been doing that day. It allows my brain to relax a little bit. I like to do yoga as well. That helps with my work. I started doing that quite a few years ago because I was getting a lot of lower back pain. But the more I did it, the more I enjoyed doing it as a way of kind of, not quite meditation. I don't find it meditative personally, but I just enjoyed doing it. It's something to switch off and focus on myself and not on what's going on around me and in the outside world.
Your body needs a release. So like, even if you're not consciously like being like, okay, I feel like, refreshed, you can kind of, it's the residual from that moving on. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I like to, just try and find time for quiet and relaxing to myself. Obviously, tattooing is a very personal job where you're around people and you're talking and you're engaged all the time. So it's nice to have that time where you're just relaxed and de-stressing, basically.
Has there been a specific moment in your career that you can reflect on and say that was one of the best moments you've had?
Earlier on this year, I won Tattoo Artist of the Year, which was pretty cool, to be honest. That was voted for by other artists in the industry. So it meant a little bit more, I guess. It wasn't just kind of a popularity contest. It was really cool, man. Yeah, it was good to get that. I wasn't really expecting it. So yeah, to have that was probably a highlight for me. Yeah.
And was that an event that you could attend in person?
Yeah, it was a convention up in Birmingham. They have like 300 plus artists and the public come around, get tattooed all weekend. It's a good weekend.
It must be a fantastic community. Obviously, there's so many tattoo artists in the industry. And I can imagine, specifically in the UK, like you probably know the top tattoo artists.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good industry to be in, man. Everyone's so nice. Everyone's really supportive of each other. Constantly like giving each other praise for what they're doing and trying to boost each other. So there's no bitchiness that I've found anyway. Everyone's just really nice. Everyone's really sound and cool. It's good. It's a nice place to be. That's why it doesn't feel like work.
So you obviously travel a lot. Do you take Huel on the road with you?
I do, yes. I take the powdered Huel with me. I've even been known to take a blender in my suitcase with me. So, yeah, I do. I take it with me, especially when I'm working as well, because when you're working at a convention, there's a lot of fast food trucks, that kind of thing. So I'd rather just have something that's a little bit more nutritious and complete, I guess. Yeah, I always take it with me. I shouldn't, but I do.
What are you sacrificing in place of the blender? Like, is there some clothes that are missing? Like, because that's a decent amount of space.
I travel quite lightly, I guess.
Just the essentials.
The blender, yeah.
What percent of your diet is Huel?
Too much. Like, yeah, probably, I don't know, 60% maybe or something. Yeah, I'd probably be 80 if I could. But, yeah, I'd say about 60%, I guess. Yeah.
What's been the most difficult tattoo that you've done in your career?
The most difficult one. I find that the most difficult ones are probably the ones where the clients are in pain. So when they're there with like an hour or two to go and they're fidgeting and that, I don't like to dig the needle in, you know what I mean? I feel bad basically. So those kind of days where the client's not enjoying it is the most difficult for me, I think. The actual tattooing, it's usually okay, but it's when I start to feel for them.
What's the longest tattoo you've done in one session?
The longest session was me and a friend. We both tattooed a guy's back for 12 hours. And that was 12 hours, 2 days in a row. So he flew over from Germany. He got tattooed by two of us for 12 hours. And then the next morning came back and did it all over again. And he did not flinch once. Crazy. No idea how he did it.
How much Huel was consumed in those 2 days?
I consumed quite a lot, I think. That was probably like a few years ago when I was just getting into it. So I was probably trying to get my mate to try it as well. But yeah, a good few litres of Huel was probably consumed. Yeah.
Thank you so much, mate, for joining us today.
No worries, thank you.
Super interesting to hear about what you do and what you're all about.
Thank you.